It's Thursday, August 20th, which means that summer is winding down. Sad face for some of us. Some people are all fall and have been waiting for Halloween to begin. Since I have an awesome food blogger on today, I decided that we should kick off this episode with food talk, even though she's not really here to talk food. So for your hello, welcome, post in the comments, what end of summer produce are you making the most of while it still lasts? Are you canning? Tell us in the comments what late summer goodies you're loving. Gifts, emojis, recipe links, whatever butters your bread with late summer produce, drop it in there. And that's what we're talking about today. And while you are spamming us with comments, I wanted to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Big Scoots. Big Scoots offers completely hands-on managed WordPress hosting, purpose-built with WordPress in mind to deliver industry-leading performance and reliability. They proactively dig deep into your specific WordPress website to find optimizations and page speed performance improvements that other hosts just don't have time for. As your WordPress partner, they will be laser-focused on your individual site, catching issues before they impact you or your site's visitors, and are always working hard behind the scenes to ensure things are secure and running smoothly without having to be asked. For more information on Big Scoots, check out their website. We're going to share that in the comments for you. We are so glad to have Big Scoots. They're so fun. Oh, yay. And we're already getting wonderful comments from people, what they're doing with their late summer produce. We've got white nectarines. Yeah, Carol Bryant. Good call. Tomato, cucumber salad. Yep. Canning salsa, diced tomatoes, pasta sauce, and pickled okra. Rachel, you're putting us all to shame. Okay. I will go back to the food in a minute. But for the topic at hand, as I already mentioned, my guest is a pretty big deal in the blogging world. And for her specific food focus, she really emphasizes saving home cooks, their sanity, their money, making their lives easier. And she is here today to do the same for all of our audience websites. Free up your time and your energy so you can focus on the high level and high priority tasks in your business with automations. And I have been wanting to sing do you know the Pointer Sisters song, Automatic? I've been wanting to, every time I say automations, I want to go automations every time. So just so you know, Erin Chase is here. She is the founder of $5 Dinners and $5mealplan.com, grocerybudgetmakeover.com, myfreezeasy.com, and author of the $5 Dinner Mom Cookbook series. She's on a mission to help busy, overwhelmed home chefs learn to spend less money on groceries and get organized in the kitchen. Her courses and membership programs have helped tens of thousands of shoppers save hundreds of thousands of dollars and countless shreds of sanity, which who doesn't need that these days, really? Beyond the money saving, she's helped many people come to enjoy cooking again and help them stop feeling stressed and overwhelmed with feeding their families every single night, which is annoying that they want to eat. Why? She lives with her husband, 4 hungry boys, and 1 furry boy in San Antonio, Texas. Welcome back, Erin.
Hey, thanks for having me. So glad to be here and to get to share about automations and making things easier for yourself and your business.
Yes, we love this. You were great last summer. We're so glad you're here this summer. Erin and I were talking all things craziness, but I want to jump in because we have so many cool automation things to talk about. Everyone out there talking about the summer produce, keep sharing those things. I'm going to go back and look at every single one of them later. So we just heard about all your impressive accomplishments, and you've done all of that with 4 boys at home, ranging from ages 7 or 8, she wasn't sure earlier, to 50.
I forgot.
It's fine. It's fine. 2020 is, I've been talking with my coworker and friend Susanna, and she's like, this year doesn't count for birthdays. So whatever age you turn, it doesn't really matter because it's 2020. So you pitched this topic to us because it was originally for our Baltimore conference that was set to be in June. So I am willing to take a bet that structure, organization, and automations have played a significant role in your success, plus just what all the things we listed are based on making things easy and more efficient. So tell us what you use and how they've helped you. How did you get into this automation series?
So I do think that this is absolutely like the framework for being able to accomplish more and reach your goals faster and expand faster. So let me just say that is absolutely like the infrastructure within our businesses, because they are plural, but
so many.
I've working in 3 different business entities. And so the structure that we operate inside of all of them is like crucial. And a lot of that is the automations. And I'm really excited to get to share this because I don't think it's talked about enough, especially I know there's going to be a lot of food bloggers here. And then of course, all the other different niches that you guys, have in the Mediavine ecosystem, in the teal world. And so I think that, and I see this a lot, and I see people struggling with it, and I see people maybe not understanding it. Here's what I really see. I see people not wanting to spend money on things that are going to help them. And that is mind-boggling to me, because if I hadn't have spent the money for these tools that we'll get into to help me with these things, there is no way we would have been able to produce and create and build what we have built and will continue to build, right? And so I want to open this with, I want to challenge your mindset. And the reason that I pitched the title of this was your automations as an employee.
Yeah.
It's because you need to understand and adopt the mindset that automations, processes, systems, this infrastructure that you're going to plug into your business essentially operates it all underneath here, where you don't have to do anything, and it's behaving as if an employee was doing this work for you, right? So I want that to be the mindset. And would you pay a person to do some of these things? Yes, you would. So would you pay a software? Yay, technology, right? Would you pay a software to do these things for you? And the answer should be yes. And if it's not, then you're thinking about it wrong. So that's like, if you hear anything from me here today, it's that think in terms of how this is going to free up your own time and how this kind of becomes this invisible employee. All these different things that we'll talk about become this invisible employee within your business, that the payments are also automated, right?
Yep. Yep.
Unless your credit cards are going to expire, which the automation should kick to you saying your credit card's going to expire, update it, whatever, right? Like there's so many things that we can automate. And here we'll talk about in business too, but I would also challenge you to think about what can you automate in your just personal life too. Unfortunately, Alexa, please cook dinner is yet to be an option.
Which, lucky for you, based on your website, it's like.
But I will help you. I'll get you as close to that Alexa cook dinner as I can. But yeah. So anyways, I think that's kind of the underlying philosophy with this particular conversation, and why I pitched it to you guys a while back in the first place is because I think this is one, a mindset, and two, just not the way maybe bloggers think that these things should be there. But they absolutely need to be there. And so that's why I'm really excited about this topic today.
I'm really excited about it too. And I think that part of it could be, and this is just me speaking from a personal standpoint, is one, when you're a blogger, you are so used to being that one person business where you're doing everything and your hands are on everything. And I think that one of the other things I've really learned about bloggers is they're so resourceful, but also a lot of us are control freaks and very much like to have hands on everything. But one of the big tenets at Mediavine is scale, and you cannot scale if you have your hands on every little thing. Like, it's not possible. There are only so many hours. Your hands only do so many things. So you have to be willing. We're actually going to have a specific question a little later about paid versus free tools and where to spend the money, and also how to determine when something is worth the money to spend. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But one of the things, and this actually wasn't planned, our episode today is brought to you by Big Scoots. Managed hosting is one of those things that always kind of gives me a pause and confusion when people don't want to spend the money on that. Because I'm always like, but that's the foundation. That's a place where I think you should drop some dollars. Okay.
Yeah, I drop dollars with Big Scoots every month, and I host 19 websites with them.
Stop. What? Did you just say 19?
19 URLs hanging out on my server. And it is up there in the top 5 things that I spend money on every month. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have any downtime issues. If we have, we needed to access something the other day to pull from our database, I needed a list of URLs that were tagged a certain way. And so we had to submit a support ticket. 5 minutes later, it's completely resolved, not only answered, but resolved. And so their support is lightning speed. And that's what you need. Like, you need those people in your corner, because if I had submitted a ticket and I had to wait, whatever, a different company, and you're wait 24 hours to get a response. No, I need a response now. So
no, you're right. And Leah Ingram just said, I'm switching to Big Scoots next month because I've outgrown my hosting. So excited to have reached that point. It's definitely a milestone. And no one is saying that you should go out of the gate when you're just getting started spending and drop a ton of money on hosting. No, we're not advocating for that. That's a choice that you can make, but it is something that becomes a place to invest your money when you're making money, to make more money and to level up with your site. It's just one of those things. And so are automations as well. So you talked a little bit about tell us from the beginning, what is an automation and what can you automate? Because you were talking about a lot of things that you can automate.
I know. I jumped into the mindset of it because I wanted to kind of explain the reason behind the title and whatnot. And so I think that an automation is, the base word of that is automate. Yep. So it is a something in your business, typically a repeatable task that can be done automatically. And I think that, I've kind of mentioned this already. I think that automations can be done by software, which we'll talk mostly about that today. But I also think that automations by people are also very important. And that really involves being really specific and clear with systems and processes and writing down different things. There's a number of different tools for that as well. And so I think of automations kind of in those two camps. There's the technical, like software is doing these things for you. And then there's the people as well. Because when you automate the people tasks, it does a couple things. It helps with brain power, decision-making power, all those types of things, if you just kind of quickly do this. And it just helps with productivity as well. And so I think that I want to distinguish that too. So an automation is pretty much anything that's going to happen automatically within your business, either done by software, machine, whatever technology, or a human being.
Excellent. And we'll get more into all the things that you can automate in a moment. But you and I have been talking behind the scenes of this episode, and you referenced it a little bit in the question before, but what is the mindset of automations? You started talking about it a little bit. You said it's a whole shift in the way that a lot of us control freaks operate, and I want to hear more.
Okay, so I am the control freak of control freaks. I am a type 1-type 8 Enneagram. So go do that research and you will quickly see that I'm an ENTJ. So run those personality profiles real quick and I'll go toe to toe with you on control freak.
Good to know.
But I cannot accomplish what I need to accomplish by myself. I can't. Absolutely impossible for me to have accomplished all the things that we have pulled together in the last 12 years if I was in charge and I was doing everything. Totally impossible. Fun story real quick. I went to, this is a number of years ago, I'm not going to name any names. I went to, because I know they've changed. I went to a little food blogger meetup at General Mills, and we were just chatting in the little car on the way back to the airport after our time together. We had the best time, super great group of gals, and we were talking about assistants. I was the only one in the car with assistants, and I had 10. I was probably on the scale of size in terms of website and just pure like metrics. Probably I was number 6 or 7 of 10.
Wow.
In terms of like size. I was completely baffled that these amazing women were doing this all by themselves. And I can tell you that the few that I have seen and make rapid growth, I know they have people working with them now. And I do think that part of our conversation and just my gentle, like, hey, maybe you should hire an assistant. Here's how that works. Here's what you do. Really, I think was helpful. And so I think that all that to say, the mindset is you have to let go, but that doesn't mean you stop paying attention.
I want that on a poster.
Put that business put that quote on a thing. So I think what people think when it comes to automation is that you tell someone what to do and you let them do it. I'm so sorry, you're doing it wrong if you do it that way. Okay. Mm-hmm. So all of our stuff is very much Erin driven. It's very Erin personality. It's very, my face is all over the place, right?
I mean, you're your brand. You are, that's what it is.
I mean, my face is on cookbook covers. So like, there it is. But I can't do all the work. I still check all the work. Still, every email that goes out, that when we send, millions a month, like probably half of them are written by me. No, less than that. Probably 30% of them are written by me. Do I read all of them before we queue them out to go out to hundreds of thousands of people? Yes, ma'am, I do. But I don't write them. Does that make sense? And so I think that you can let go of control without letting go completely, if that makes sense. So that's the mindset of automations that I would challenge you to adopt, is kind of figuring out that balance of, okay, I can't do all this work, but I still need my eyeballs on everything. And you can absolutely set your infrastructure up that way.
And the other thing, I'm obsessed with that quote of letting go, but not stop paying attention. Love that. Great mindset. But also the other thing is, even you not only can't do it, everything, why would you want to? And there are just people that are better at things than you are, and it's easier for other people to do them. One of the things I will admit I get trapped into is that sometimes I like doing easy tasks for a little period of time because it makes me feel better, autopilot things, but I can't. I can't do that anymore. That's not what it is. So it's hard for me to let go of things that I'm like, this needs to be offset. I don't know why that's a weird thing for me. Guys out there, what automations are our listeners using for their site? What are you guys currently using? Tell us in the comments. Okay. What types of automations are specifically great for content creators, for bloggers, for influencers? How do you determine which aspect of your business needs automating the most?
Okay. Can we come back to that in a quick second?
Of course.
Need a hot sec. Okay.
Yeah, take it.
Here's going back to the kind of the mindset and letting go. Right. Over the next 2 weeks, here's another challenge for you. Here's your homework.
Yes, love it.
Over the next 2 weeks, make 3 columns on a piece of paper. And as you're going through your week, put tasks into the 3 columns. And they are the following. Things that only I can do.
Okay.
Things that I, the CEO of my business, can do. Right? That's going to be higher level decisions, big picture. Maybe it's, if you're, depending on the size of your site, you're still doing all photography and videography, like whatever the things you can do. Then
no one else can do the big call with General Mills CEO. You have to do that call.
That's me doing that call. I'm the one, working out proposals. This is me still. I don't have a biz dev team. If I had a biz dev team, they would be doing it. We're not to that level yet. Right. So those are things that I, as the CEO, need to be doing. Then there's the things I like to do. I like to take food pictures. Do I outsource that a little bit? Can I? Could I do all of it? Absolutely. But I like it. Does that make sense? And then there's the rest of it that you shouldn't be doing, which is probably 60% of what you do every week. Okay. Make that chart. See what happens. You're going to be amazed. Okay, so back to your question about specific tools that we need to be using for automation.
For content creators as that specific group. And we've got people saying, is Tailwind an automation? Yeah, I definitely think it is. Michelle says she is automated mostly by people. We've got Google Sheets, Zapier, Buffer Time, all sorts of people, Social Bee. And then Brenda said, Jenny, that's where I was stuck too. There are some tasks that I like to do, but I just don't have all the time to do it. So I had to prioritize and outsource more of it. Finding that right people automation that you're comfortable with is key. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you just said you could have somebody take all of your pictures for you, but you don't want to do that because it brings you joy.
Right. Right. And now I do both. I have people helping me and I do some too. And it's very clear who's the other, and it doesn't matter. Right.
Right. Right.
At least it doesn't matter to me. I know there are some food bloggers who are very particular about their food photography, which is amazing. Be particular about it because that's your brand and that's how you roll. Okay. So what are automations, that tools? Let's start with, I think the very most important is your email automations.
Okay.
I think email marketing is by far, I will argue with you until I am blue in the face, but email marketing is
your beautiful room
to match my beautiful blue office.
All of it. It's all happening.
Yes, I know. Everything on my new show, it's all blue. Everything is blue.
I love your aesthetico, and it goes with your eyes. It's perfect. Get on with your blue. Yeah.
Yes, me and my blue. So the email marketing is by far your best place to connect with people. If you're going to do any sales of any kind, it is by far the best sales channel. Even if you strike some viral something pin or Facebook post or whatever, long-term email. Okay. So now that we're done arguing about that,
and your any objections have already been answered, so there's no point. You're done.
No,
Goodbye.
We'll chat later if you want to disagree with me. But so I think that's most important. So when you're looking for an email provider, I want you to think about 6 months from where you are right now. So when most people start with MailChimp, you go to MailChimp and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't spend $200 or whatever. Maybe it's $40 or $50. Yes, you can, because I promise you it's going to free up time later. Okay, right? You're going to be sending out your weekly newsletter from that. You're going to be sending out your, here's your free design, your free home design for 2020 guide, your free opt-in, whatever it is. Then you have your follow-up sequence, and then you have your long-term, email newsletter that you send out to people weekly, monthly, whatever your cadence is, right? So email is absolutely number one. And whatever program you're using, whether it's, so on the email scale, you have everything from a simple email delivery service, which,
right.
MailChimp, SendFox, something like that's just pretty straightforward. We're just sending emails for you. Then you have, you kind of jump into the CRM level, which CRM is customer relationship management software. And then there's a number of, I feel like there's 2 tiers there. There's, ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, and then you jump up, there's a second tier that has a lot more automation power, which is where I'm at. I use Entreport for that. And then above that, you then have, HubSpot and Salesforce. And so you kind of have to, that's a good kind of train of options for you, depending on where you're at in terms of size. And so I would encourage you to take time to research which one of those are going to be the best based on your email and sales strategies, because depending on what they are is going to determine which one of those softwares that you wanted to choose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So first, CRM/email, absolutely number one. That I can tell you right now that with Entreport, it powers our memberships, our affiliate program, all of we send millions of emails a month. It powers all of that, and it is worth every single penny, because if there's one actual invisible employee that is I am paying a human employee's salary to, it's Entreport, and they do more work than a human employee does on the invisible work. Does that make sense?
Let me pause. It totally makes sense. I love everything you're saying, and I agree with you. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rewind, because what I see a lot, and I know this isn't strictly our topic, but we can look at it through the lens of automations. There are so many publishers that I see who do not see email as an essential part of their business. They don't. They see it as it's kind of like SEO was like 4 or 5 years ago, where people were like, I just don't get SEO, so I don't worry about it when I write. And now it's become such an intrinsic part of everything. And I think that email will get there because those are your people. That's who you sell to. Those are the only things you own. That's how you have them. But talk to me about why you cannot just ignore your list. You have to build your list and you have to communicate with them. Please talk to me. Explain that.
Oh my goodness, this is a whole other session, but yes.
I know.
So email marketing, just like you said, is the only thing that you own besides your website content, that is published and living on the internet. And so if Facebook goes away tomorrow, is that going to happen? Unlikely. But I will tell you, I know Jenny knows this, but if you don't know this, my house flooded December 12th, and I got an email. So we had to move out. It was that bad. We lived out of our house for 6 months. And I got an email it was within 7, 8, 9 days of the initial flood. So I'm already pretty stressed. I got an email that my Facebook page was, violating things. And it was a legit email. I was crying. I don't cry. I'm a type 1, type 8 Enneagram. We don't cry. Crying because what if I lose my Facebook page?
Right.
And the advice I got was, you have your email list. Fine, over it, next. And really, it was like, I thought that it was going to be this, and nothing happened. My Facebook page was fine. Anyways, crazy how dependent we are on these other platforms. Pinterest actually drives the majority of our traffic. Facebook is such a fun place though, right? I'd be devastated if I lost our page. Would it end my business? Absolutely not, because we are dialed in on email. We still pepper everything everywhere, but email is what is the sales engine of our business.
I think that maybe where the disconnect is coming is that people don't see email as a direct traffic driver to their site in the ways that they see. I know. That's why I'm setting you up. Here comes the pitch. It's underhanded. What I'm saying is people see that it's coming from SEO. They see it coming from social. They don't see it coming from email. Go, Erin.
Some of my analytics screenshots. So we send emails on Saturdays or Sundays, and you can tell if I send an email on Saturday or if I send an email on Sunday, which of the 2 days. It's always a weekend email, but it's not the exact same every time or every weekend. And you can tell in our traffic, because I'm driving traffic back to the website. Absolutely, it makes a difference. But I don't think that traffic isn't the only thing. There's more than that. And so, yes, traffic is a huge part of business, especially for Mediavine, right? And because traffic impressions equals revenue. But there's so many more opportunities for revenue with if you have your own products, or even if you're just doing a freebie. It is absolutely a solid way to drive traffic if you're not using email as a sales channel, for sure.
Dennis just said, hi, Chef Dennis. He just said, since I've been growing my email list, my direct traffic has gone up drastically. Everyone is saying that. Larisha is asking if she can see a list of the email service providers that you mentioned. We're putting that together. We're sharing links to. Luke said, what about push notifications? To me, that's like email, but easier. Do you have thoughts on push notifications?
Yeah, if that's what you think is going to work best for your audience, then absolutely that is a fantastic strategy. We use text notifications for some of our members, just as another touch point for people, or reminders really. Push notifications on your website, push notification, or if you have, like, some people I know are really aggressive. If they do a lot of live video, they'll make sure people are signing up for live video notifications. And so whatever you think is going to be best for your audience, and whatever is going to help you reach your goals, KPIs, metrics, whatever you call them in your business, if that's going to work for you, then do that. But for us, email has by far been the most successful one, traffic driver, two, sales generator.
Very exciting. Okay, another area of automations for content creators would be tasks. Go a little bit more into detail on that.
Yes. So anything that is repeated in your business can be automated somehow, whether it's by technology or by a human or by yourself too, right? So we have a weekly meal plan subscription service that we've been running for 6 years, and it is so streamlined and automated. It takes me, this is the setup side. This is the administrative portion of this.
Right.
It takes probably tops 30 minutes a week for me to do. And I have it automated into my schedule so that it always happens on Thursday mornings. It was the second thing I did this morning. Does that make sense? And so it's a process that does need to, we have a software. The software does the meal plan setup for us, but it still needs a human touch point. So that's kind of an example of tech plus human plus schedule automation. And I don't have to think about this task that has to happen every week. I have not stressed about $5 meal plan setup for years because it has been so automated. It happens every single week. If I know I'm going to be out of town or if I'm going to be on an airplane on Thursday mornings, then I'll double up and work ahead. Does that make sense? And so that's an example of, that is something that happens every single week. We choose the recipes that go into the plan every week. We set up the plan every week for delivery. You know, we have our, we have our editor basically, making sure that everything is exactly and perfect. Because what happens when you send out a meal plan to thousands of people? It's not perfect.
They notice the mistake? No.
You'll hear about it in 5 minutes. Okay. So you got to make sure it's perfect. So we have all these between the software that we had built and the people. There's 3 people involved in this weekly automated process. It is very simple. It's very fast. It's very streamlined. And making sure that we are meeting our members' expectations, you know, with the meal plan every single week.
Is there anything worse than when you send something out and there's a mistake and you didn't? Oh, I hate that's the worst feeling maybe ever of all time.
When it comes to tasks, though, I want you to be thinking about, okay, again, kind of go back to that list. And you could even take that list of things that you don't necessarily need to be doing and what can you automate. And this is where it takes a little bit of time. You've got to research, ask questions, go in the Mediavine group and ask people, what are you using to automate this? And you're going to probably hear, I use Zapier to do A to B. And there's literally hundreds of thousands of options here from connecting point A to point B, right? So I'm not going to be able to give you like your specific. But if you ask, people will know and we will answer, right? And so another one is if this, then that, right? If somebody mentions me on Twitter, text me. Ask me how often I log into Twitter.
How often do you log into Twitter?
Only when someone @s me.
Love it.
Right? Does that make sense? But I wouldn't know because I get the notification, right? And I don't want to get all the notifications on, you know.
No.
But set it, maybe you use the Twitter app to send you notifications only when you're getting a mention. Maybe you use your Instagram notifications to get a notification or a text or whatever, only when somebody sends you a message to your primary inbox, right?
Otherwise, you'll just be drowning. You'll be drowning constantly.
Because holy Instagram notifications, right? And so it's all of these things are there. They all exist. If you have this pain point, I wish X could happen when Y happened. I guarantee you that some smart technological software developer person has built something to do this, to meet this, like, I wish that this could be this. And if they haven't, then ask. Right? So speaking of, Leah asked about Tailwind earlier. We have access to product pins now. And I asked to say, is there going to be product pins in Tailwind ever? They're like, no, but great idea. Adding it to the roadmap.
Yes.
Right? So ask. Anyways, okay. Side note there.
What's the worst that could happen? They say no. Maybe it's not on the roadmap now. Remind them in 2 months. Set yourself a reminder with that app or that automation that you have.
Yep.
Okay, a little bit of a controversial one here is social media. automating social media, because I think that's where everyone's mind automatically goes when we talk about automations for content creators. We're talking about social media schedulers, the type of things you're talking about, like notifications, mention, thing like that. And then there's the whole can of worms about whether schedulers versus live posting. So all of that. Talk about a little bit of social media scheduling in here.
So my social media scheduling is all human automated.
Yeah.
Not entirely true. It's human managed / human automated. So for Pinterest, I have Simple Pin Media managing the manual pinning. And then I have somebody else managing my Tailwind that does all of our smart loops and all of that stuff. And so we do some, software automation, some human automation. I also have Instagram and Facebook done using live posts or the what is it called? Creator Studio.
Okay.
So we do native inside of everything. And I do think that Creator Studio, for both Facebook and Instagram posts, really is all that you need. They have schedulers now for both platforms.
Yep.
And there's a lot of functionality there if you take a minute to look at the options. And so I think that would be my first suggestion for social media scheduling, is to use the native platforms and schedule within them. I do think there are some really other great programs that you can use. And Tailwind would be the one that we use for Pinterest. And you just have to do your research. And then if you are going to try, a third-party scheduler versus the native scheduler,
like a co-schedule or a buffer or
a third. So those would be third-party schedulers versus the native to Facebook, or now Instagram is within Creator Studio. So you have got to watch your numbers like a hawk, and not how many people are commenting. Watch your traffic numbers, right? And so or your engagement or your comments or whatever. I have heard both sides of over the years, right? When and I worked with CoSchedule probably like 8 years ago, or it was a long time ago. And you just have to watch. And if your engagement drops, your traffic drops, your reach, that's the word I'm looking for, reach drops, then you need to switch into the native scheduler. But I don't know. That's my thoughts on that. It's really going to be dependent on your audience, and it's going to be dependent on how engaging your content is. So
definitely true. And I've also seen a shift from I have to post 4 to 5 times on my Facebook page a day to I'm going to post when I have something really relevant, like at least once a day, but maybe 2 times if I really have good things. But as opposed to, someone had commented, Luke, on having evergreen content being a great thing to schedule through those means. And that's great. Sometimes that gets reach and sometimes it doesn't. I think it just depends. But more topical, more in the moment things. It's hard to schedule stuff on social media because the point of social media is to be relevant in the moment. It's hard. I mean, it's a hard thing to plan for a month and a half in advance. Like right. I also will say to people that if you've not been in Creator Studio on Instagram or Facebook lately, I think they've really improved it. When it first came out, I was like, this is a hot, steaming pile. Like, it was a mess when Creator Studio came out on Facebook. I hated it. I kept getting redirected there. And I'm like, I don't like this. Stop it. And now I enjoy it a lot. So I would say go back, dip your toe back in. And Leah said Tailwind lets you schedule Instagram stories now too, which is a really cool feature. So how far out do you schedule social media, Erin? Do you using those native schedulers?
Both, like today, Monday, next week,
okay,
month from now. It's all of the above.
Okay.
And that's partly depends on which of my 2 social media managers is working on what, basically.
Okay.
So we have a mix of Evergreen, we have a mix of what's happening in Erin's kitchen, and we have a mix of these are promotions that we have going on. So it's really, I try to strike a real careful balance between, here's a promotional post, like go sign up for something, a sales post essentially. Here is just a recipe that is seasonal and, zucchini, all the zucchini. Hang on, y'all, pumpkin spice is coming next week.
Already everywhere. Guys, time has stopped existing. I'm ready for Christmas cookies. Like next week.
I say that, but look, I have
I know, guys, can we stop? I love Erin. She did not need to show me all of her really great cookies right before we started and then be like, they're at my house though. Have a great day.
I know. I wish I could send you some.
It's okay. They look amazing. I can get the recipes and bake them, but
I'll have them up real soon. Don't you worry.
I'm excited. So you do a mix of all of those things. That's fantastic. So let's segue a little bit on from social media to the content marketing side of it, and what kind of automations do you have there? Because you have, between 19 websites, 5 of them pretty much active and posting on the regular basis. How do you balance all that out, and what are you using?
I think that the majority of our content marketing is actually by email. And then, of course, social media. Those would probably be our 2 highest sort of social media things. So let me kind of dig into our email automations, because I think that would be really helpful. Like I said, I use Entreport, which is a CRM, but it also has a fabulous, email delivery component that is the core of it. And then it also has, membership options and course options and affiliates. It's all built in there. So for email, we have, I might have just archived a couple, but we probably have about 100 active email sequences. So what that means is if somebody comes onto the $5 dinner site and they want to sign up for the weekly email newsletter, there's one of those. So they'll sign up for that. They'll get the series of like, hey, this is me. Nice to meet you. Tell me about you. We get a ton of replies, to these emails. We also send them information about the different, series we've done in the past, different products that we have available. And then they go onto our weekly email that I mentioned earlier, goes out every Saturday or Sunday. And so that is an example of 4 or $5 dinners, our weekly email that has these, I think it's right now 8 emails that go out over probably about 2 weeks. And then after that, it's a weekly email. So I call that short-term to long-term nurture. Those are just my words I use for it. I know there's other people call them different things. And so that is in Entreport, that's actually 2 sequences. It's 5DD step and then 5DD date. So 5DD step, these 8 emails are automatically scheduled based on when the person signs up for the free email newsletter. So they sign up on Monday, they get Monday, they probably get Wednesday, then Friday, Saturday, Monday. They just kind of, it's stepped out that way. At the very end of that sequence, there's a rule that says, okay, they're done here now, please move them to date. So they get moved to the $5 dinners date sequence. I don't want them getting the date emails while they're getting the first 8, because that would be too many.
Yep.
A short period of time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so it's automated so that they get the step and then they get switched automatically to the date. Multiply that by tens of thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, thank you very much, invisible employee. Okay.
Yep.
So that's just one specific kind of email example. We also have, here's another one for like a course, let's say. So someone signs up for our grocery budget makeover. We used to have launches for these. So we had like GBM September step sequence, but now it's all evergreen. So it's GBM evergreen step and then GBM evergreen date. Exactly the same thing, just different types of emails. So the GBM step is, hey, here's your login credentials. Hey, here's where you log in again if you missed the last email, because it happens. Hey, here's our Facebook group. Come and join us. And then I have automated, if they haven't logged in after a week, we send them a reminder email. Yep. And if they haven't logged in after 30 days, we send them another one. Because they've signed up for this, I hope everything's okay. Right?
Yes.
So that's example from the step sequence. So after those first 3 emails, then they get kicked onto the course delivery piece, which is then here's lessons 1 through 3, here's lessons 4 through 7. It kind of drips it out that way. Does that make sense? So it's different and so that's course delivery. And then after that, when they're finished, they get put on alumni. And that's where we send, hey, we have a new Starbucks cookies series that I'm about to write. So go check that out. Traffic driver to people who already know me, who've already done our course and who want to know about cookies.
And who doesn't want to know about Starbucks cookies?
Especially right now. Holy God, school time. So anyways, does that make sense? So those are just two, like here's a free weekly email and then here's like a course. And we have a membership. We have lots of check-ins and touch points and, login and credit card fails and all of those things have to be automated, because if they're not automated, then you end up bogged down in customer support, right?
Yep.
And let me tell you, anything that we can automate out of customer support frees up both time on support and money, right? So.
And it makes sure that, you've curated experiences for people at every point in the funnel. You have them at wherever they are, you're meeting them, and you've curated an experience that you want them to have. You know how they're going to go through, and you've made it to where you don't have to think about it every time. You don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again. How often are you reviewing those series? You just said you deleted a couple. How many times a year are you going in and going through everything, auditing yourself?
Great question. Auditing is something we forget to do, and I don't have to do it, but it forgets to get done. I very much have it built in. So let me rewind over to kind of what automation sort of setup looks like.
Yeah, please, because that was my next question, was talking about how to get into this. Let's say, like, I know that this is a repetitious task. I know that this is something I can set up and forget for a while.
Right.
How do I do it?
There's like the first two are easy. It's the last three that people just fall off track. And that's where you get in trouble. So the first is research. Like, what do you need to do? What program, what software, what assistant should I hire that is going to be able to help me accomplish and automate this repeatable task? So the research is first, asking your friends, asking in groups, whatever. The second is then going to be setup, right? So I actually just did a research and a setup this very week. It went live on Monday for a social proof plugin software piece of code for our store where, so-and-so just bought this 2 hours ago or whatever. We had never had one. I don't know why. So I did the research. I have the setup. I did the testing. And now we're moving into the next. So research, setup, test it. So many.
What does that look like, testing? Tell us about it.
Whatever automation, if you set up a form for your new email newsletter, stick an email in it and make sure it works. Make sure the person's redirected to the right page afterwards. Make sure that the email with the free design ebook gets delivered to them. You have to test everything, because if you set it up and it breaks or it isn't set up the way you want it to be set up, creates another customer service nightmare, right? And so testing. And then the next is basically tracking or checking in. So any sort of, for me, and Entreport has an amazing dashboard. So I just go and I can quickly see, like, okay, these things are not working, or we're down on sales in this particular product or whatever. So just keep kind of keeping an eye on it. Going back to what I said at the very beginning. And then the last is a full-on audit.
I'm excited. I like this. This is fun.
So I do this every 6 to 9 months by product. So I don't do this all at once for every single product. So then I have it kind of, because we have so many different products, I have it, probably about every 6 weeks I'm auditing something. So what does an audit mean? It means going back with fresh eyes, like you've never seen this information before, and making sure that it's still accomplishing the goals that it's supposed to accomplish. So in the case of $5 dinners, we recently added a new kids cooking curriculum. And so I had to go back and audit the $5 dinners weekly so that is now included. So while I was adding it in, I went ahead and made sure that it fit right in the whole flow of all of it. Does that make sense? And so that ended up being kind of a full audit. I didn't rewrite a lot. I did a little bit, but it's basically coming back to this automation that you've set up. And this probably happens most often with email related sequences. It could also be for social media, for some of the evergreen stuff that you've posted, right? We sunsetted one product. I guess it was the end of last year. So then, and I totally forgot we had loops for that setup. So that's still out there on Pinterest. And so I found it in the audit, pull it all out of there, right? And so I think that you have to go through all the way to the end, and then auditing, just put it, make a little reminder on your calendar to go back, 6 months or 9 months from now and do it again. Because things do change, and you will hear from people, and you're like, and that's why we sunsetted that one product. It was like, maybe this is not the best use of our team's time, our promotional bandwidth, all that stuff. And so I think that it's super important for you to, one, keep an eye on it, and two, do a full audit of it on the regular.
Set it and forget it for a little while, but then come back. And it's really keep monitoring it, keep those metrics, and any email service provider, any of those worth their salt will have a dashboard for you where you can track your metrics and your open rates and all of that sort of stuff. And like you said, as you climb that ladder and move into bigger and bigger, more comprehensive programs, you'll find more and more things. Okay, let's talk, what are your favorite tools, and let's talk free versus paid, because I could talk to you all day long and we'll run out of time. So let's talk about tools.
Oh my gosh, we are. Oh, wow. Okay. See, we love chatting about this.
We do.
So free versus paid, you're going to get what you pay for, is absolutely what it comes down to. And I think it comes back to what we talked about off the top, which was automations are like an employee, and you've got to be willing to pay for them. If I was going to put money into anything first, it's going to be, and assuming you already have hosting going on because your website's live, then I would email for sure. Whatever email provider, whether it's, you have no list at all, start with MailChimp, get a little opt-in box from MailChimp. All of these programs are so user-friendly. We've been using, have used MailChimp up like 10 years, long time. I used it compared to what it looks like now. Whew, you guys, we got it easy nowadays. It's so easy to figure all of these things out. They're super user-friendly. The tutorials are very simple and easy because they want you to continue to use their service, right? So they got to make the onboarding easy. So that's what I would start with. And then I would also look at, like we use a design service, and we get everything, we host everything for our team in Dropbox. And so is there a way for me to automatically get our design agency's files directly into Dropbox? Like that would be an example of an automation or something that somebody on our team does every single day. Could that be automated? You got to start looking for what could be automated, and then figuring out, again, back to research and getting it set up, and then, checking in on letting it run and running that full audit. And so Zapier is great to connect different pieces. And most of these softwares will tell you, hey, work with Zapier. There's even really great automations, notification automations in like Slack. There's also If This Then That, which is iftt.com. And no, TTT, 3 T's, IFTT. I have such a mental block on that. IFTTT.com. Same story. Go look on there. Okay, just go look on IFTTT.com and just start to look at all the different little boxes that they have. And you'll be like, oh, I could automate this and that and that and that. You'll just get inspired by looking at what they suggest, right? So maybe that's a good first starting off place. The other thing too is pay attention to the programs you're already using. For those of you who use Canva, did you catch their new editorial calendar that came out this week? Holy moly, guacamole, sign me up, right? So anyways.
It's exciting. It's super exciting.
But you've also got to be.
But also Canva, bring back the file sharing that was easier, please, because it's so hard right now. You're killing us, Canva. No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They changed some file sharing options in Canva that our team, it's not, it's difficult. And so Canva.
Dropbox? We just have Dropbox linked in.
We use Dropbox some, but
another story for another day. Okay.
Yes. We need to. I'm going to go to ifttt.com and figure out.
Be inspired. Really. That's a great place to get started. And then, as you grow, then you'll want to be looking for more things, project management things to help you: Asana, Basecamp, Trello. You'll also want to these are kind of thinking further down the line. We didn't really have time to get into all this. Workflows for the human piece of this. Let me touch on this real quick because I said this earlier. Suite Process, Pipedrive. We've actually built out essentially our own version of all of these things within Google Drive. I just randomly started building it out, and it just kept going. For all of the agenda documents that we use, our master docs, our reference docs, our task docs, project docs. Like, we have everything in this massive HQ that we all use and work from. And so basically I essentially built our team's version of Basecamp or Asana. And then we have these workflows that are also built into Google Drive, but look very similar to what you would see in Suite Process or Pipedrive. So be thinking about also not only these technical automations, but also how you can use your assistants now and yourself and your own time better to, setting yourself up for this sort of process-driven automation as well.
Okay, I have a couple questions and I want to go to Larisha's. I wish we could keep talking. What Larisha said, what's your response to someone who is nervous about giving up income to pay for these things?
You will make more money if you invest in the right tools, right? So if I hadn't invested in email, I wouldn't have made, when I very first launched our very first course ever, I made $50,000 on a $300 a month investment.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
math works.
I launched a course on Entreport as a platform with an affiliate program and all the email, all the videos, it's all hosted on EntrePages now. And that was the first launch. I've done 9 since then, and it's evergreen now. So definitely worth the investment. In that case, it was to launch a course, but it also powers so much more than that now. And so you've got to look at the investment amount, and you've got to forward think. I think we live in the moment so much.
Yeah.
And we can't see the return. Of course it's a risk, right? Of course there's risk in everything, right? There's risk in picking a Tesla as a stock right now. I won't, buy yourself a share, but well, after it splits maybe, but there's risk in everything. And it's just got to be calculated. So if this risk has the potential to save you $600 worth of time this month, then go ahead and give that $99 a month to whichever software it is that you're considering. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then set it up and use it, right? It's going to be we all have these things that we sign up for and then we don't use them. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
There's another thing to audit, right?
Yes.
Not just in business, also in business, but also in personal life, right? Things that we're paying for. That I paid for Amazon's Prime Pantry. I'd signed up for the $5 a month membership when they released it. It was probably 18 months ago. And then they switched it off, and I kept paying for it because they didn't switch me off. What?
That's not okay, Amazon.
Anyways, but I wouldn't have found that if I hadn't gone looking for it, right? I found that earlier this year. I was flabbergasted. Anyways, all that to say, I think that you have to consider this payment to whatever program, either it's an assistant or technology or software, an investment. Absolutely. If you do not reinvest back into your business and back into yourself, right? Because investing in these automation tools or email marketing tools or social media management tools is going to be a reinvestment to yourself, to your business, but ultimately it comes back to help you. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, automations allow you to focus on the things that only you can do and only you want to do, like to do, so that the other things can be, you don't have to think about them, because otherwise we drive ourselves into little tornadoes and run into the wall and lose our minds. And so I think, Larisha, if you just think about this as this little investment, there's a little risk, but the little risk is going to be what motivates you to make sure that it's working for you in the way that you need and want it to work for you.
Use the risk to motivate you. I love that. So I'm going to make a quick announcement, and I would love to know if you teach courses on email marketing, because if you don't, you should, because at the very least, automating or about your drip cycles, because those are amazing. Guys, next week, it is our second to last episode of the Summer of Live. We are winding down. It is depressing. Thursday, August 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, I have Hillary Erickson of Pulling Curls. We're talking about tripling your income while you sit at the pool, which should still be open, with courses. So we're going to talk about how to market your courses, how to find what you should be teaching on. All of those things are happening next week. Erin, can we talk you into perhaps teaching a course on email marketing or automations? I'm just throwing it out there.
Tell me anytime, whenever. I don't have information on this. I have thought about it, and I am a stay in your lane girl. My team has instructions to, if I start to veer out of my lane, get back in your lane, Erin. Food. And so, yeah, I'll come back and we'll do another one, but I do not see myself developing anything. I do know, I feel like I know a lot. And
you do
a lot, but I am passionate about helping people spend less money on food. And so that's the lane I'm going to stay in right now.
Well, I am passionate about having you on the lives because you're great and you always bring so much to it. I'm also passionate about your Starbucks cookies. Erin, thank you for coming. This has been great. And guys, thank you for coming, and we will see you next week.